You ever been in these awkward conversations with your mom or your dad or your grandpa, your grandma, or some random uncle that you have, and they claim how, like, oh, back in my days, back in my time, we didn't have phones. Oh, back in my time, we used to go outside and play, or oh no, back in my generation, we would buy a house at the age of 25 and have like 5 kids. Well, yeah, you're not the only one. I'm pretty sure that everybody has had this stupid conversations with older people or just somebody that's just not in your generation. You see, these whole conversations is all a generation war. This sort of phenomenon or the generational conflict has existed for years, I would say probably even centuries. It's the old classic where the older generations, they criticize the younger generations. They say how like, oh, these young people these days are soft and they're lazy or whatever the hell it is. These generation wars are driven by the differences of technology, the culture, the economy. Why does this whole war exist in the first place? Well, for that, we're gonna have to do some deep analysis and discover why this happens. You see, picture yourself this scenario. Picture yourself years ago going to a party. You went to a party, the party was going great up until, things just started going wrong. You started throwing up, you got sick, you got into a fight. It was the worst party of your life. And then a few years later, a friend of yours or a family or somebody that was in the party with you shares a picture. And they say, hey, remember this party? You remember this? And it's a picture of you and your friends. And then you go ahead and say, oh yeah, I remember that party. Yeah, it was the best party. The music was great. I had it was a fun time. It was... Yeah, right. That is what it's called as a memory bias. This is when people remember the past in a more positive way more than how it really was. You see, older adults compare today's young people into an ideal version of themselves in their childhood. What they don't talk about is all the stress and all the hard things that they went through in their time. This whole thing creates the whole kids these days kind of, the effect. It's where people believe that the younger generation is pretty much just getting worse, or that their attitude and behaviors and their beliefs, or that they're getting too addicted to the technology and stuff like that. You know the whole stories, right? Every generation experienced the advantages and also the struggles. You see, boomers benefited from strong job markets and affordable housing, but they lived through events like the Vietnam War and political assassinations. Gen X enjoyed more freedom and independence, but they faced the layoffs, the AIDS crisis, and the drug epidemics. Millennials gained the internet and the global connectivity, but struggled with the whole 2008 recession. They struggled with inflation and student debt. And when it comes to us Gen Z, we have access to self-education, content creation, and online opportunities. But the thing is that this generation currently faces a lot of anxiety and depression. Yeah, we don't talk about that. The whole memory bias is a whole psychological trick. Over time, the negative emotions, they're going to fade, they're going to disappear, while the positive memories are going to get stronger as you age. It's all because of nostalgia. How many times did you remember that time where you were with your friends on the bikes or on the skate park, on the movie theaters, or playing Call of Duty while calling each other the N-word all the time?
You're making fun of yourself, you fucking idiot. You're looking like a loser right now. You test procedures in there.
Motherfucker, that's what the fuck you are.
Everybody remembers all these things, right? All the positive things, all the good memories that you did as you grew. But yet, you don't talk about the bad things. The whole comparison is so unfair. It's like, why are you comparing each and every generations to your generation? You grew up in your generation, and simple as that. You had different technology, the economy was different, society was different. It is not the other generation's fault that they were born in a different time. Get the whole Gen Z rent-free out of your mind, old man, alright?
Future's now, old man.
Like, I think the whole reason why old people always compare their times into the young generations is because it's kind of a reality check that they are just getting older. Like, it reminds me when Eminem literally dissed Gen Z. Like, that was like when he said like, oh, you're gonna cancel me, Gen Z me, bruh. Like, listen, I love Eminem. He's like my favorite rapper of all time. Like, I love Eminem, but like that was a corny ass line, man. Like what did we do to him? Like, what did Gen Z do to this guy? Like, how is Gen Z living rent free in this guy's head? Now, don't get me wrong. Getting dissed by Eminem is like a blessing. Like, when he dissed Gen Z, I was like, oh my gosh, like we got dissed by Eminem. Like, oh, that it felt so good. But at the same time, it was like, what did we do to him? Like, did we hurt him, or like what did we do? I didn't do anything, man. I love his music, man. What did I do to him? What did I do to get dissed by Eminem? Like, I'm sorry to say it, but you're like 50. I think it's time to just pass the torch to the next person, because I don't know, man. Please just retire for the good sake of the world. Like, I'm sorry, but like it's time to pack it up. I'm sorry. How many times have you heard of the good old saying, oh, you know, the good old days, oh, the golden era, the golden times? Every generation has this claim, including Gen Z right now. Every generation tends to have their era as the golden era of whatever the case was, especially for sports, for music, entertainment, the culture. And it's all because nostalgia just makes you feel, it just makes the past feel simple and happy. The whole claim of the good old days is kind of like, it's like you seeing how much of a decline society is in the modern times. This whole claim is an emotional baseline of memories, because the older you get, the more you miss the energy of being young. See, every generation has the claim of how the golden era of certain types of things was. When it comes to music, for example, music is something that throughout time has changed and it has a different impact in each generation, even to this day. Also, when it comes to sports itself, like in general sports, you know, every generation also have their GOATs. They have their what they would claim as the golden era of sports. It's funny how one of the biggest debates or wars that Gen Z and millennials have is the whole gaming and war that we have. Like, when it comes to gaming, Gen Z normalized the whole pay to win kind of thing with battle passes, microtransactions, and millennials absolutely hate that. And I'm gonna be honest with you, millennials, I agree. I hate microtransactions. There we go. Also, Gen Z has mastered the whole complex mechanics with the games. They are very fast, the whole movement system, and these are called sweats. And millennials hate sweats. I hate them too. Like, now you cannot jump into a game and enjoy it without just crashing into a sweat. It's very annoying how, like, you jump into a Call of Duty, Fortnite, or just a competitive game, but you're always gonna see sweats. They just, like, man, chill out, man. I just want to jump, play, and have fun. Like, I'm not here to you're like, chill out, man. You're not participating in a whole tournament, man. Like, chill, man. Or the biggest debate of them all is the whole censorship. Because in the present day, if you go and hop in an online game and then you type a slur, you will get banned. But anyways, let's just move on to the next point. The lifestyle shapes on how different generations see each other too. Boomers would live a routine centered around work, family dinners, television, and simple entertainment like movie theaters, bowling, reading magazines. They remember their era as a time when people could build a stable life and support families on a single income. Gen X grew up with more independence and with much more freedom. They're the whole reason why the whole quote-unquote go hang out outside and come back until the streetlights come out. All of Gen X, they see their childhood as like less supervised and pretty much being connected more socially. Now, millennials experience the whole rise of social media and the internet. Many of them remember as technology being excited and fun and simple, and then as time went by, they saw it as like more stressful and overwhelming, which is kind of true. Now, us with Gen Z, we pretty much grew up with technology. We grew up with smartphones and tablets and pretty much the internet. We pretty much don't know a world without the internet or without smartphones. Like, we don't know we don't know how that world is, and it's not our fault. Ultimately, generational tension comes from rapid social change and nostalgia. Older generations may struggle to accept how quickly the world changes as they age, while younger generations focus on adapting to the modern life. Technology. Oh, technology. This one is a good one. This one is pretty much the heart of the whole generation wars. Technology plays a major role in the whole gen wars. Now here's a little bit of thing to understand. The closer the generations are, the more they understand each other. Like, for example, Gen Z and millennials, we understand each other when it comes to technology because, we grew up sort of in the same time as technology went through. But the further away the generations are, that's when it gets good. For example, Gen Z and Gen Alpha, we both grew up with smartphones. We both grew up with the internet. We both grew up with this whole digital world. It's literally a normal part of life. You see, millennials had it a little bit tougher because they had to transition into the digital age. As for Gen X and the boomers, they had to basically adapt into the modern technology. And because of these differences, it's one of the reasons why older generations criticize the young for being too addicted into the whole digital world and the internet and the smartphones, and why they rely on it too much, and why it's like, oh man, like these kids and their phones, man, like. And then the young people respond with the classic, okay, boomer kind of thing. Technology shaped every generation in a very unique way. Now here's the thing, as technology advances, everything moves faster, right? Life becomes faster, easier, and much more convenient. Example, younger generations can search online for jobs. We can communicate instantly through video calls and social media, travel safer and more comfortable. You see, what I mean by driving safer, I mean by like the self-driving cars. Like at this point in time, I feel like self-driving cars are much more safer than actual humans driving cars. Now, because younger people tend to grow up with this technology that makes it easier to live, or like just, pretty much easier and just faster, is one of the main reasons why the older generations calls the young generations lazy. The purpose of technology is to, as humanity moves on, we make it much easier for the younger generations. As we move forward, the technology is going to make it easier and much simpler so that humans can pretty much live their lives. Transportation is literally like 10 times faster. Like back then they didn't have planes. Now we have planes. We can travel around the world in much faster ways, where back then it would take literally like 5 years to travel across the country. Or even things like communication, where it's like back then you had to send a letter and it would take like 2 weeks to get to the destination, where now you can just send an email and it's like instant. Like the whole claim of like, oh, we had to walk through school on the mud, and we had to walk on the rain, is like, I don't care, man. Like I much rather take the electric scooter to school instead of having to walk 5 miles and have to, like, I don't know, suffer the whole thing. Like, I don't know, what can I tell you, man? Maybe that's why they call it soft, but I think it's just smarter. And it gets me there faster. Trust me when I say though, like, we're gonna criticize the younger generations and we're gonna do the same thing. I'm calling it. Like, we're gonna criticize Gen Alpha and even the generation before them, and we're gonna call them like lazy. We're gonna call them soft.
Class, can you please open up your math books to page 67?
Did you just say 67?
Now, here's one of the things that almost not a lot of people talk about, is the whole thing with the world events that each generation went through. And the whole thing affected their whole mentality and the way they behave and what they believe too. Every generation develops its own personality depending on the events that they went through during their time. But they also cause many changes into the modern world. World events often shape how generations think and behave. Like, we can go way back in time with the whole silent generation. They had to go through World War II and the Great Depression. So these people, they had childhoods marked by resource scarcity. They value financial security, they have a lot of loyalty, and they love taking risks, which is probably why they love to gamble a lot. Now, when it comes to boomers, they grew up in a post-World War II kind of time. The economy was booming at the time. Boomers pushed cultural change, but they went through things like the civil rights movement, they went through the Vietnam War too. It sparked a whole lifelong culture of activism and also questioning authority. Gen X became self-reliant, grew up with the Watergate scandal, the Challenger disaster. It all led to skepticism of authority and strong independence. Now, millennials, they had a difficult time because they went through things like Y2K, 9/11, the 2008 Great Recession. Millennials were shaping their views on security, economic stability, and also the technology. A lot of them were pretty much graduating from high school when literally the economy just... Gen Z focuses on social transparency and awareness. Now with Gen Z, we have the whole climate crisis thing where like a lot of strange Mother Nature activities going on. Gen Z resulted in worries about isolation, the environment, and our personal safety also. We had the COVID-19 pandemic. It basically increased our hyper awareness. We prioritize mental health, and we also go through remote learning and self-education because of that. Now Gen Alpha is growing up with AI. As they are adapting to this new change, and obviously it's too early to call, but we'll see how Gen Alpha behaves after the whole AI. Now the whole rivalry thing is self-explanatory, but it's a little more... Let me just explain. The generational rivalry exists because of the age gap, pretty much. The older generations, they see the younger generations as weaker, less disciplined, or less capable. For example, the boomers would criticize millennials, not Gen X, because like I said before, a lot of the times the generation before you understand them, because that age gap is closer to you. But the larger, the bigger the age gap is, that's when it gets juicy. Boomers would criticize millennials, Gen X would criticize Gen Z, and millennials are now criticizing Gen Alpha. They're calling them the iPad kids. That's where that whole thing comes from. Whereas Gen Z, we don't see Gen Alpha as that, or at least majority of them. See, here's the thing, right? Millennials and Gen Z, we're like buddies. We understand each other. Same thing with like Gen Z and Gen Alpha. We understand each other. We grew up with smartphones. We grew up with technology. But when it comes with millennials and Gen Alpha, they don't know each other. They absolutely don't understand each other. It's literally like a whole 15-year gap. You see, the oldest Gen Alpha right now is like 16 years old. And the youngest millennial is 30. It's literally a 15-year gap. I get it. I know it's 14, but let's just say 15. So 15 years is a big gap. And in 15 years, a lot of stuff happened, which is why I'm saying that millennials and Gen Alpha, they don't know each other and they're rivals. A lot of you millennials are parents now. And how many of y'all criticize your kids as like, oh man, they're literally 5 years old and they know how to use a phone already. But when it comes with Gen Z, we understand it because we also grew up kind of, we didn't learn how to use phones at the age of 5, or at least a lot of us. But we did learn how to use a smartphone by 10 pretty much. So we understand them. But you millennials, you guys don't know that. You started using smartphones by like 15 or 20. Same thing with like boomers and millennials, right? A lot of boomers, they criticize millennials, right? Because again, it's a huge time gap. And Gen X and Gen Z. Gen X are usually the ones that call us soft. They're the ones that pretty much criticize us that, oh, these kids and their phones, they don't... and their TikToks and the social media, they can't last a single second without TikToks and stuff like that. But you as millennials, you understand us a little bit because you also used phones. But Gen X doesn't understand that because they grew up in a whole different world than Gen Z. Gen X connects better with boomers, Gen Z connects better with millennials, you millennials connect better with Gen X, and us Gen Z, we connect better with Gen Alpha. And in the future, it's gonna be like this for millennials and Gen Alpha. When it comes to AI coming in the future, you millennials are gonna have a hard time learning how to use AI in the future. Not right now, in the future. Trust me when I say in 10 years, you guys are going to completely lose it with AI. Gen Alpha are going to be the masters into learning how to use AI. And then you guys are going to ask Gen Alpha to help. Hey, like you're going to ask a 20-year-old Gen Alpha, you're going to ask him, how do I do this? And they're going to be impatient with you. It's better for you guys, the millennials, to ask Gen Z on how to learn this stuff. Because, like I said, we're buddies, man. We know each other. We understand each other better. We're probably going to be more patient with you guys than Gen Alpha being patient with you guys on learning how to use technology. It's also kind of like the example of like when you apply to a job, right? Like when you are new into a job position, and all the ones with experience, they tend to like see you, they mock you, they start laughing at you for being like, hey, look at the new guy, you know, and they laugh at you, but you're like barely learning, and you're like, hey, like guys, I just came in. But then as time moves on and you start to gain experience, and to the point where you become an experienced worker, then it comes in with the younger generation, or somebody new comes in, and you start to like, oh my gosh, this guy is really, really dumb. Like, oh man, like what a loser. Like you went through the same thing. You went through the same thing, but it's like, in the end of all of this, I understand that the Gen Wars is a whole thing. It's really, really dumb. In the end, I think generations, instead of criticizing each other, we're here for each other, right? We each play a role into how society is, into how shaping the world is going to be. And because of this, generations are more connected than people like to admit it, if that makes sense. One of the biggest points that young generations have is that, hey, like the old generations call us lazy, they say that we're addicted to phones, but yet, like, it's not our fault, it's more on their fault. Like, Gen X are the ones that build those phones. Like, they are the reason we use those devices, you know? It's not like when we were like 10 years old, or 10 years young, I would say, like, it's not like we built the phone and we started using it. No, like, you as Gen X, you build those phones, you made those things, and you gave it to us. Because here's the thing, older generations have experience, right? And younger generations bring in new ideas and adaptation into the world. Society works better if we pass the knowledge into the next, right? Does that make sense? So instead of us fighting, listen, we can fight, but when it comes to, we should help each other. Like, just forget about the whole generation wars. Stop comparing, okay? Focus on your life, move on, it's fine, okay? But anyways, I'm done with this video. I hope you guys learned something. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. And maybe after this video, you can go and talk to your younger siblings, maybe talk to your children, maybe talk to your parents, talk to your grandparents, talk to your uncle or something, and just talk about the generations and just be like, hey, you know what? Your generation was cool and all, but mine was better.